Hi everyone, my name is Ehsan. I'm registered migration agent. I will be taking today's session on NSW 491, which is skilled provisional visa, also known as regional visa, most commonly. We are waiting. We apologize. We got late a bit because of some technical issues, but I will be starting this session very soon. So I hope that you can. I'm audible. Now, just waiting for a few more people to join, and then we will start today's session. Just to give you a brief about it, so this session is in particular to discuss about 491 requirements in NSW, the pathways that they are announced, what are the options or opportunities for applicants who are living in regional NSW and who are working, or what options you can get through NSW 491. Now, this session will also cover options for offshore applicants in NSW 491. So anyone who is interested in NSW 491 must stay with us till the end, because at the end we will take questions and I'll be answering as many questions as possible. My recommendation to you will be to leave your questions in the comment box of Facebook or wherever you are watching this live stream. Just leave your questions there, and at the end, we will try to answer as many questions as possible. So just we will wait for 1 to 2 more minutes, because there are a few other people joining this session, and I want everyone to be present so they can know all the requirements for 491 NSW. So let's get started. So as I introduced myself initially, my name is Ehsan. I'm registered migration agent at Aussizz Group Bankstown office. I will be taking this session today to discuss about NSW 491 requirements, all the pathways, basic eligibility criteria, and then what are the chances if you have, depending on your profile, and just I will clear all your common doubts that you have, and then at the end I will take questions. So let's get started. So first of the thing which most of you are already aware that, post-COVID, especially Australia is facing skill shortage. People with skilled, many of the skilled migrants left Australia during COVID, and even before COVID, speed of skilled migration was slow, due to which there is now a genuine shortage for many skills in Australia at the moment. Now, again, and same goes with NSW as well. So there is skill shortage in NSW as well for particular occupations, and we will be discussing how you can apply for 491 in NSW, keeping this in mind. Now, before I get into NSW's requirements, so just to give you an update, or which most of you might be aware, so this year skilled stream visas will have 70% of the 70% of the places, while other family visas will have around 30% of the places. So this is a significant increase from last year. And if you look into the planning levels for each skilled visas, so you can clearly see here on the left column, you'll be able to see 2021, 2022 planning levels, and on right column, you will be able to see 2022-23 planning levels. Now, on the left side, there is that refers to skilled visas. So if you compare last year planning level with this year, you can see there is a significant increase in all the numbers. So employer sponsored got increased by 13,000, skill independent, there is 5 folds, almost 5 times, it increased by 5 times. Regional visas, but it's almost 3 times the one that they had previously. Same goes with state and territory nomination. So You can see the huge demand for skilled visas in this financial year, looking into these planning levels. Now, based on these planning levels, all states and territory have got their share, and these updated planning levels were announced just last month after the federal budget. So there was some interim quota which was allocated to states or regions before October budget, and after October budget, we are expecting that there will be further increase to that quota. Now, on right side, of course, there are family visas, but then that's not our topic of discussion for today. So if we see in regional specifically, there is a significant increase from 11,000 to 34,000. It will, of course, be divided across all regions, regions in Australia. Now, what are the skilled visa options there? So there are skill independent visas, skill nomination, which is state nominated visa, subclass 190, regional visa, regional provisional visa 491, about which I'm going to talk about, and there is 491 family sponsored visa. My topic is mostly I will be covering skilled work regional provisional visa, which is subclass 491. Now, there is some minimum eligibility criteria. So to those people who are new to, who are just planning to apply for skilled migration now, or who are new to Australia, they might not be aware about basic eligibility criteria. So the first, for any visa, skilled visa, whether it's 189, 190 or 491, you need to have skills assessment first. So that is the first criteria. Now, once you have skills assessment, then you have to meet state's requirement. If you are meeting that particular state's requirement, you apply for state nomination, and then you receive invitation, and then your visa is lodged. Now, once this 491 visa is granted, it's not direct PR. It's a 5 years visa. After getting the visa, you have to live and work in regional for at least 3 years and earn 53,900 per year for 3 years. Once you have met this requirement, you can apply for 191 visa. Now, here is some basic eligibility criteria, which is that minimum points requirement is 65 in EOI. You must be under 45 years of age. You must have at least competent English. And as I said, skills assessment, you should have a suitable skills assessment. And you have to be nominated by Australian state or territory government agency to apply for subclass 491. Now, these are the basic eligibility criteria. Now, if you see the last point that you must be nominated by Australian state or territory, now that's where states have option of keeping their requirements. So they set out certain requirements. If you are meeting those requirements, then only you are able to apply for state nomination. And in this session, I'll be discussing those requirements for NSW. Now, there is another visa, which is 491 family sponsored. Now, for family sponsored visa, it's not sponsored by you are not nominated by a state or territory. That's the difference. Other requirements are almost similar, but over here you are sponsored by your eligible relative, who can be your parent, child, sibling, cousins, who is a permanent resident and is usually living in designated regional area of Australia. They can sponsor you for this. And for this purpose, your occupation has to be on the long-term list. So I will not be discussing this visa in detail today, but just to give you, just to differentiate that 491 family sponsored visa is different to normal 491 skilled visa. And the main difference is that over here, you need sponsorship from eligible family member, while for 491 skilled visa, you need to be nominated by state or territory. Now, coming towards NSW state migration program, and discussing 491 requirements. So now this year, NSW has set out 3 streams. First stream is regional NSW-based direct pathway. Second is pathway 1, where you apply directly to an RD office. And there is a pathway 2, where you will be invited by Investment NSW. Now, when initially NSW announced this program, they were only focusing on, they only had two pathways, pathway 1 and 2. This regional NSW-based direct pathway was introduced later on a few weeks back, and it just got opened in early November. So currently there are these three pathways. Now, what are the key changes in regional visa for 491? So if we compare it with last year, now for this year, NSW has clearly instructed that you must lodge 491 EOI that is exclusively for NSW. So if you have lodged EOI where you have selected multiple states, you will not be invited for 491 in that EOI. Or even if you have selected other subclasses, you might not be invited for that as well. Now, there is a good news this year for offshore candidates, offshore applicants. So offshore applicants will be able to apply if their occupation is on the list. And of course, they are meeting all the requirements, which are skilled points and work experience. And residency requirement this year is that applicant must be living in NSW for 3 years or living offshore for at least 3 years. 3 months, my bad. So residency requirement for this year has been reduced to 3 years. So if someone is living in regional NSW or NSW for 3 months, they are eligible to apply. Or if someone is living offshore for more than 3 months, they can apply as offshore applicant. Some of the other key changes in this year have been that minimum experience requirement and score requirements have been added. So which means you have to meet minimum points criteria set against each occupation. And in addition to that, there is minimum work experience requirement against each occupation, which you all have to satisfy. Now, there is exemption available for people. So for two kind of applicants. Number one, who are applying under NSW-based direct pathway, or applicants who have completed regional NSW study. So if someone has studied from a regional NSW, they have completed 2 years of study, and that course got completed in 24 months, they are exempt of work experience criteria. So let's say if someone is a recent graduate from regional NSW, they are meeting points requirement, but they are not meeting work experience requirement, they will be able to apply based as they are exempted on the basis of this criteria. Now, regional. So first, I will discuss regional NSW-based direct pathway. So to apply under this pathway, the first requirement is that you have to be eligible as per Department of Home Affairs requirement, which I discussed on earlier page. That is, you have minimum 65 points, you have valid skills assessment, you have lodged EOI. So basic requirements that were discussed on the page before. Then, to be eligible for this pathway, you must be currently living and working in nominated occupation or closely related occupation in designated regional area of NSW, and have continuously done so for past 12 months with the same employer for minimum of 20 hours per week. Now, this is very important criteria here, because the work experience has to be, so you must be currently working. So someone who has completed 12 months and has left employment, and at the time they apply, they will not be eligible, number one. Number two, they must be continuously working for past 12 months. And it must be with same employer. Okay. Now, there is a relief for applicants who did not work full-time, because the criteria is to work for minimum 20 hours per week. Now, as I said, you must have a valid skills assessment for an occupation, which is on the NSW regional skills list. So there is a separate list available where you can see if your occupation is there. Now, the advantage of going through regional NSW-based direct pathway is that you do not need to meet minimum points or minimum work experience criteria. If you have worked there for 12 months and lived there, same employer, you will satisfy employment criteria. Now, there is additional requirement that NSW has added this year. which is that you must be paid at least 53,900 per annum, which is full-time equivalent, and this amount should be excluding super. Now, NSW has been very, they are really focusing on this part specifically. So if someone has not been paid this amount in the year that they are claiming points for, they will not, unfortunately, they will not get positive outcome from NSW government. Now, for this year, applying is, there is an online form available where you have to apply from. You provide all the documents, all the relevant information, and you choose region where you would like to live and work for next 3 years. So you select region accordingly. Now, pathway 1, which is applying directly to an RD office. So we were expecting, some different requirements here to apply directly to RD office, but the requirements that we have received until now are same to what were there, previously. Now, the difference between applying directly to RDA and pathway 2 is that over here you lodge an application, you don't wait for an invitation first. You can apply using online form directly to RD office you wish to apply to, but you have to meet minimum experience and points criteria to be eligible for pathway 1. So for example, if you are let's say if you are ICT business analyst, now the requirement for ICT business analyst is that you must have 110 points and 1 year experience. Now you need to meet both criteria to apply for pathway 1. If you are not meeting either of the criteria, you will not be eligible under pathway 1. Now, in this, again, the process is similar. You lodge online form, you apply to relevant RDA office via online form, and then you pay the fees, of course, and then you wait for them to send you invitation. Pathway 2 is basically being invited by an Investment NSW. Now, to be invited by NSW, by Investment NSW, you do not have to fill in separate forms. So if you have lodged expression of interest, NSW will pick you up from your EOI. So you do not have to lodge separate application first to be invited. Now, in this case, if you are living in NSW or you are living offshore for 3 months, you should be eligible to lodge EOI. And of course, you have to meet points criteria and minimum work experience criteria. So if you're satisfying all the requirements and you have lodged expression of interest for NSW, you will receive invite by Investment NSW. Once you are invited, you have 14 days then to lodge your nomination application, and then you wait to receive invitation to lodge visa. Now, the difference between this one, pathway 2 and pathway 1 is that in pathway 1, you have to lodge EOI and then apply to RDA separately before they nominate you. While in pathway 2, you lodge EOI and you are invited directly by NSW government. Now, one key thing you have to keep in mind for pathway 1 and pathway 2 is that for both of these pathways, you have to satisfy work experience requirements as well as minimum points requirement. The only exception available in pathway 1 is if you are a recent graduate, which means you have studied from NSW, then you are exempt from providing work experience. If you cannot meet minimum points requirement, if you cannot meet graduate requirement or minimum work experience requirement, then NSW-based direct pathway can be a good option for you, but you will be eligible under that after working in regional for 12 months. That's the first pathway that I discussed. Now, these are all the requirements for NSW 190. Now I will, NSW 491. Now I will quickly discuss a few, recent cases that we have seen. Now, NSW is basically as per our observation. So anyone who is eligible for pathway 2, let's say, and have lodged EOI is likely to receive invite in 1 or 2 rounds, and generally they are conducting round on fortnightly or monthly basis. Now there is no set time frame from NSW that when they will conduct next round, but that's what we have seen until now. The other positive news here is that even if you are living in Sydney, for example, and you are meeting minimum work experience and points requirement for 491, you can still receive invitation in pathway 2. Another thing, another case that we have seen is specifically, NSW is very strict when we come to regional NSW-based direct pathway. Now, anyone who has not worked continuously or has not worked for past 12 months, even if they have worked 2 months less or 1 month less, or they have completed 12 months and they are not currently employed, they will have their application refused. Okay. So whoever is planning to apply under regional NSW-based direct pathway, make sure that you meet all of these requirements that you see on my screen and then apply. Now for other occupations, and now the sorts of occupations that are on the list are, there are many occupations on the list. Some of the winners from NSW 491 are trade occupations or social workers, nurses. In trade, there are many, like even motor mechanics, or there are many trades which do not have any work experience requirement. And offshore applicants also have a very good opportunity to be invited under pathway 2 or pathway 1. We have already seen many invites for offshore applicants who are meeting minimum criteria and they have lodged EOI. So if you are an applicant who is offshore and has met minimum requirements, which is points and work experience, should lodge EOI for NSW, and they will have high chances of getting invite from NSW investment directly. Now that's all for today's session. It was a quick session just to brief you about what's happening in NSW and just to see if you have any questions or doubts related to this. So I'll take questions from your side now. If you have any question, you can leave in that in Facebook in comment section, or if you're watching on LinkedIn or YouTube, you can leave your questions there and I'll take questions from there in next 5 minutes. So Saif has asked that he is working in regional for last 8 months. What are his chances for 70 plus 15? So Saif, if you can elaborate, is it engineering technologies or which field are you referring to? So I can tell you, but that let's say if you are working in your nominated occupation and you have skills assessment in same, you have a skills assessment, you can apply in NSW based direct pathway as well. You do not have to meet points requirement for that. Now, if you meet points requirement earlier, let's say you increase your points and you are meeting requirements before you become eligible for pathway 1 or pathway 2. Sorry, before you become eligible for NSW based direct pathway, you have option of going for pathway 2 or pathway 1. So Inder has asked that TSMIT part-time, can you clarify on that? So Inder, for example, now they haven't, department or NSW government has not provided complete information on that, but then generally, let's say if you are full-time experience is defined as 38 hours per week. Okay. Now, if you are working for 20 hours per week, then we will have to, calculate your earning on pro rata basis. So as per our calculation, it comes up to somewhere between 27.5 to $28 per hour. And if you work for minimum 20 hours per week, you are likely to meet the requirement. But of course, there are other criteria which we have to consider. Now, Saif, of course, you can wait. I'm not sure about your overall profile. So if you are engineering technologist and you work in region, you should be able to apply for 491 from NSW-based direct pathway after after you have completed 1 year. Now, just make sure that you are working with same employer. Do not take unpaid leaves. Do not take a break. Do not leave the employment, and you are meeting TSMIT income requirement, which is 53,900. So Lakshay has said that he wants to ask a question. Lakshay, if you can leave your question in the chat box, and I'll be answering that now. If you can leave the question now, that would be great. Thank you. So I'm just checking if anyone has any unanswered question. Okay, so I have got one question from my team, and that is someone asked that if they have recently completed their qualification, will they be eligible to apply if they are not meeting points requirement or work experience requirement? So look, the exemption available for recent graduates of NSW regional is just for experience. So you still have to meet minimum points requirement. Now, let's say if you see points requirement that points against your occupation are 95, it means you should have 80 points of your own, and you'll get 15 points from region. That will bring you to 95. So you still have to meet points requirement. However, you do not have to satisfy minimum work experience requirement. So Lucky, no, there is nothing, no update. There is no such update that you can apply after working in any field for 12 months. So, but what NSW, however, indicated initially when they announced these requirements was that they can make changes to the criteria without any notification at any time. So we cannot rule out the possibility of them changing any criteria or requirements, but at the moment, the criteria is pretty well defined, which is that your occupation has to be on the list and you have to work for at least 12 months to qualify under the NSW-based direct pathway. Okay. I believe these are all the questions that we've got today. Now, here are our details. If you want to reach out to us, We have our offices in Sydney, Parramatta, and Bankstown. You can reach out to us on below email address or below numbers, and one of our migration agents will be happy to help you with your questions or queries. I thank you all of you who attended this session or who will be watching this session later on, because if any of your friends missed this out, we will have this session on our Facebook page. It will be available, and it will be available on YouTube as well. So you can access this session later on, or if any of your friends could not attend it, you can refer them to this session. It will be really helpful for them. So thank you everyone again. And I wish all of you best of luck. And if there is any question or doubt, you can always reach out to us on these numbers. Thank you.